Oh, there you go.
That's very exciting.
And we will have a link to that in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about Project Browser or check out the beta 2 release, you can do that. Now, for our module of the week, let's introduce Martin to talk about the module of the week. Martin Anderson Klitz is a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and maintainer of a number of Drupal modules of his own. He even thought of a new one this morning that he may POC this weekend. So he's building modules, folks. What do you have for us this week, Martin?
Thanks, John. I thought this week we would talk about the token module, which provides a centralized API for text substitution. So since Drupal 7, some token support is actually built into Drupal core, but the module really provides common and reusable token UI elements, as well as some missing core tokens. The module was originally released at the end of 2006. It has 8.x-1.11 versions, as well as 7.x-1.9 versions. So those released sort of Drupal 9 and 10 and 7 versions of Drupal core respectively. Both of those were released earlier this year, the 8.x version being released in August of this year. Now, token itself has never been reviewed as a module of the week, although token tweak was actually covered back in episode 105 over 7 years ago now. In terms of sort of how well maintained it is frequently updated. It currently has almost 500 issues open, 172 of which are for the 8.x branch and 89 of those of which are bugs. So definitely lots of healthy discussion going on there. And the module is actually in use by over 650,000 Drupal sites, and almost 300,000 of those are using the 8.x branch. Has sort of a team of maintainers, both people who just are actively using it and contributing patches, as well as the maintainers. The user Berdir is the one who seems to be doing the 8.x releases of late. And really just to give a little bit of extra background around exactly how the token module works. If anybody isn't familiar with tokens, they kind of act as placeholders for data that will be replaced when the content is rendered. So it could come from the node that's being displayed. It could be coming from the site configuration, or even the current user's profile, and really lots more. It's also possible to create custom tokens, which makes it a really powerful way to have complex logic to define exactly what the data is that will be used for that substitution. So lots of flexibility. There's also a very rich ecosystem of modules to provide additional tokens. But wanted to kind of open it up to the group. I suspect that probably almost everyone who's done extensive site building in Drupal at this point is probably used tokens at some point or another. But does anyone have cases that come to mind of where tokens were particularly powerful or maybe even challenging to use?
So I think I can provide an example that covers both of those. Commerce, right? Commerce uses a lot of token replacement for email communications, order notifications, shipping notifications, and all sorts of even on-screen thank you messages and things like that. And usually they work great, right? But sometimes they can be challenging. Sometimes you have to build or add tokens to the token system for commerce sites. So I think that's kind of where I've experienced kind of the most frustration and the most benefit from tokens.
I think it's on most sites that I work on too, but it's also one of those modules that I don't install manually. It's just a dependency of another module. I mean, I think meta tag depends on it, and I use it pretty heavily there. I've definitely used it with the storage module for setting up some default titles. So a module that you maintain. It's great. It's one of those utility modules. I understand why it's not in core, because it makes it easier to kind of update and keep up with contrib. But it's definitely one of those key modules that I feel like almost every site I build has it.
Yeah, I also used it quite a bit for the event platform that we covered in a previous show. Again, to sort of work in a similar way to what John was talking about with Drupal Commerce, the idea being to have sort of a single place where an event organizer could go in and manage a lot of the data, and then really have sort of, default, email notifications and some of those other kinds of things that would, again, use tokens to sort of take that centrally managed data to insert that into some of that other kind of boilerplate text. Also, the other thing, and one of the reasons why I've had to write custom tokens is tokens are also used quite extensively by Acquia Site Studio. And so being able to write custom tokens can really provide a lot of more complex ways to use conditional logic and some of the things in use with that solution as well.
Awesome. Tokens. It's one of those things. It's funny. Nick said, it usually gets installed as a dependency of another module. And I don't know that, thinking about it, I don't think I've ever actually just installed tokens just to install tokens. It's always come along with something else and provided great